Sophie.
Pleasure.
Good to see everyone. I guess a quick bit of back context so people can understand where I'm coming from. So I was born with my disability. I've been a wheelchair user since I was about 3 years old. So whenever going back as a child with parents and in adulthood more independently with care assistants such as Aga's helping me out today and filming at the front row as well. There's been a constant battle trying to find accessibility. I think it's nice to also share. I love travel and tourism, it's a real passion. So, you know, everyone should have access everywhere. That's a pretty obvious point to make, but, you know, I've managed to see a lot of the world and run a few businesses that coincide with disability inclusion, such as a magazine a few years ago and a travel accommodation website. So that personal experience I can share is that when I go to a hotel, obviously it has to be wheelchair accessible, but I use a hoist to get lifted. So I know we've talked a lot about this more recently, that it's actually quite astounding that about 250,000 people in the UK use a hoist like I do, and there's about 11 rooms in the UK, rooms with a hoist. So that's a big thing I'm working on at the moment to try and get more hoists. But of course, the way I've always got by is either I can bring my own portable one from home, which is cumbersome to do so, but it's possible, or rent a hoist wherever I'm, you know, staying. But then beyond that, the hoist, it's hard to push it on carpet. So ideally, when I'm using the hoist and Aga's assisting me, it's better to have not carpet, but a sort of solid kind of flooring. And then there needs to be room under the bed for the hoist wheels to get under so it can lower me onto the mattress. I think it's fair to say a lot of people with accessibility needs find a wet room easier. But I just also want to say that accessibility needs vary, and so shifting gears into my community work and the bigger picture of trying to build a world that's inclusive of everyone, I think it's just fair to acknowledge that there isn't a one and only specific that's an accessible room, because everyone has different needs and different preferences. And that's not for businesses to go, oh, well, that sounds a bit difficult. So, you know, Martin said there's differences, so we don't have to worry either. Yeah. It's more just acknowledging that there are variables, but there are solutions so that everyone can stay. So I know we're going to get into a few bits as we go, but I hope that frames a little bit for the starter anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the important thing that we want everyone to take away from today is that you don't have to make radical changes to accommodate everyone, but making some changes is better than doing nothing. We were sort of umming and ahhing about whether or not we were going to take last night's situation into account in this talk, but yeah, basically organising accommodation for Martin to come to this talk has been a real eye-opener for me, because I was involved in the booking process, and speaking to the team here to try and organise an accessible room, well, it came up with an awful lot of questions, staff not knowing answers to things, and actually some of the facilities you're unable to use in an accessible room.
Yeah, I mentioned 250,000 people in the UK use a hoist, but there's over 1 million people that use a wheelchair, and obviously then there's other segments of the disabled community with other, you know, disabilities, for example, neurodiversity or learning disabilities, you know, deaf, hard of hearing, and that adds up to about all of disabled people in the UK. There's about 14 to 16 million people, which the big thing I always drive is it's a business case. I wanted to land that point as well, because we all agree it's the right thing to do. There are laws which don't always have the teeth to actually enforce them as well as they could, but actually it's better when everyone wins, which is the business case. What we've been hearing is lots of very easy, low-cost, practical things to do, which is fantastic. That there are lots of first steps everyone can take. I think I just want to speak a little bit to maybe the psychology or the emotional side. I think, so you mentioned Purple Goat, obviously the business I run now, our actual day-to-day is doing influencer activations, and we work with very big global consumer brands back to that ROI, that business case. So if someone is at the point where they know the product or service is accessible and they've had good, feedback and good successes, and they really want to go for that, the purple pound has been some of the sort of, the phraseology of saying what the business case is. Yeah. So that's a little aside of Purple Goat. We do this kind of marketing influencer side. But what we find, any brand, any industry, it's fear. Yeah. It's fear of doing the wrong thing. Yeah. And people, and I'm not sure they're self-aware of that, but it's literally this static, what if we do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing, we'll get cancelled, the whole cancel culture. Yeah. So then people don't do anything. And so when you say like nothing about us without us, it's involving the community, even like definitely in that kind of research way, but even back to the point where I'm a customer, I know my access needs. I just need someone to tell me if they have the right features, inverted commas, in the product, inverted commas. Yeah. And if they don't, I'll go to the one that does. And that's capitalism, that's business, that's fine. Yeah. But the fact is there's not enough supply because of, I think the big thing is this fear. And if people realise that, it is okay and it's fine to make little mistakes on the way, because we do it in business every day, right?
Absolutely.
If we don't try things, you never get anywhere. Yeah. So, and I think that's a bit of a legacy of, I could go into my whole disability awareness training, but the medical model was very much 100 years ago. It was sort of doctors and professionals told disabled people what was best for us. Yeah. And then over sort of 70s, 80s, 90s, the politics kicked in. So there's more rights and legislative protection. And now we're at a great point where I could go to the local primary school and mainstream education, went to university. There's more opportunities than ever for disabled people. But there is this sort of stereotype fear of saying and doing the wrong thing. And I think that's a big one to realise. And then the rest is back to the practicalities that are actually quite easy.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a huge demand there as well, right? So
absolutely. Yeah. I've kind of framed already the challenge, right? The fact there's not enough hoists in hotels. And I've pushed a bit around the sort of advocacy, tried to knock on doors of the big multinationals that you kind of would figure would have the resources to have a couple more hoists at least, to not a lot of success. But to that advocacy side, there's a charity called Pathfinders that have done a lot of filming to really storytell around the issue. Like you say, the people that don't travel because they can't, because there's not enough hoists, or those that do, and the time tax and the stress. So it's going to really, there'll be a lot of noise from May the 12th about the issue, but I'm a big believer in solutions. I don't want to only point out problems, you want to find the answer. And so not having had that luck directly with lots of hotels thus far, I sort of looked at it more entrepreneurially. And so there's a pilot with, some of you may know, the Royal Lancaster in Hyde Park. And so we've found a way that they're going to have a hoist permanently. It's not on the ceiling, which James was speaking to, which is preferable. It's the best way for someone like myself to be hoisted. But it's a mobile hoist on wheels, but that will work brilliantly in the room. But the big thing is that there's two other hotels I'm aware of in London. One is Z Hotel in the Strand, have a really great room with a hoist, but you can't book. You have to go online to book the room, and then you have to try and speak to someone afterwards. And if that room's already booked out, the one with the hoist, then, because you're just booking a queen room and there's multiple, they have to refund you. So I'm speaking to the customer journey is shocking, even though there is a fantastic room with a hoist. And I think it's Archway, Premier Inn have got multiple hoists. Whenever I've tried to stay there, they're always out of order for health and safety reasons. So there isn't really in London an easy way to book.
There's a new one.
Is there a new one now?
Pan Pacific in
Okay.
Liverpool Street.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Has 2 rooms with hoists in bedroom and bathroom.
And could you know if you can book it easily as well? Yeah. Well, that's fantastic news, and that's what we want more of everywhere, right? But with the Hyde Park one, the Royal Lancaster, I'm going to film some content back to the kind of, you can film content quite easily these days, and just get it out to the community. So it's going to be a really great way to unlock that potential. So more to come on it. But if anyone wants to follow me on social media, is probably the best way. There'll be a lot of activity happening there, and ultimately we want to show that there's no reason every hotel couldn't have a hoist in some form or other. And there's the business cases we keep saying, and the purple reference, I've got the purple wheelchair on the side, the purple hoodie up there, and purple goat, so it's all about the purple pound.
Well branded.
Yeah, exactly.